morning to you on this Tuesday. Just fantastic weather. I guess we got to start cutting grass and all that other stuff now. Well, you know, the weeds, man. Look, let's see, honestly, you see the weeds come up first before the grass comes up. So now if you've been cutting weeds.
Hopefully I don't have any weeds.
Yeah, that's true, you know. I'm going to get Jeff Thompson to come on again, hopefully soon, from Bell Seed Store to come down and give everybody the little tips and everything. Unfortunately, we're looking at a drought sort of county and don't believe there's going to be much rain for the rest of this month. That's not a good thing. But anyway, another story. We're back this morning, and we have before us the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, KIRK DEVIERE. Good morning, sir. How's everything going?
Good. Another, like you said, another warm week starting and gearing up for the summer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be real warm this week. I think that I saw this thing on the news going all the way back to 1942 or something like that. So I guess it was global warming because of World War II. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding. Still record-breaking heat, and so we'll see how it all floats out. But so you guys met on yesterday morning.
We did. We had a few things kind of go on. Our morning meetings are always a different, kind of structure, not structure, but a little different tenor than our evening meetings. But did have some good stuff going on. We moved forward, so a lot of talk about our regional aquatic center and what we're doing. I've spoke about that before. We moved forward our feasibility study, our consultant for our feasibility study, so we had that approved. That RFP was led in December. They went through interviews in February and early March, and so that came to the board for approval last night. So we approved yesterday morning, we approved our consultant to do this feasibility study, and really focused on three things. So when you look at the feasibility study, we hope to get three things from it. How are we going to program it? So what types of things are going to be in there? And who will the partners be in it? So are we going to do, collegiate type tournaments and events? Are we going to have, recreational activities for the community in there? Are we going to, partner with, WOMAC and Cape Fear Valley to look at, other medical things that we could do in there? So just how is it going to be programmed is one big piece of it. Who are the partners in it? And then how we're going to pay for it, and that some of that will be who the partners in it as well. But there's a lot of financing options and ways we can pay for it. And then ultimately, where do we think it could be located? Where's the best position for it to be located in the community based on the programming? Because you think about it, if there's a big tourism driver to it, if there's a big, we want to position it as this regional hub for tournaments and events and swim meets and that kind of thing, collegiate or whatever, high school. You want to have that accessibility from 95 and those types of things. So look forward to getting that back. They'll start that process, engaging the community, stakeholder engagements, and kind of walking through this process. Hopefully get an updated timeline on that once the contract gets finalized and we get moving.
Okay, well, that's great. So a number of things are happening here, outside of the Board of Commissioners, too. You have, I think the city, they did vote on having the sports complex. It's going to be off of 295 there in the areas. I think it's land that has been donated for use by Fort Bragg. They didn't give it away.
Correct.
But for use there by Fort Bragg in the Eureka Springs area there off of 295. So that's a project that's going on.
Yep. And that's part of that initial parks bond that was done back in 2017-18.
Right. Okay. And you were around then.
I was on city council when we passed that parks bond.
Right. Okay. So
it's good to see that bond dollars actually being put to use. I'm sure that cost is a lot different now. As I read about it, it looks the cost is a lot different than what we initially thought. And initially we looked at that down on Fields Road, quite frankly.
Right.
And I always was a proponent for it to be out there, again, centrally located towards 95 if we're trying to drive tourism. Now we got 295, so, we didn't have that back then. We didn't have the final connection back then, but still was a proponent for it to be out on Fields Road.
Right. Okay, I remember that.
But just great to see. I think, there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to travel ball and those types of things. I think, we still have a huge opportunity for for soccer and soccer complex in this area and some other things. So I think as we continue to grow our recreational activities, those are things we've got to continue to look at. I know the city of Fayetteville just had their, first look at the tennis center as well. I think and I didn't get an opportunity to go. I was tied up with some business and wasn't able to attend, but understand that was a good first look as well.
So when you say a travel ball, what's that?
Travel basketball, travel
Okay.
baseball. So where you have travel leagues that come in, the whole, different leagues. So it's not like normal Parks and recreational league. It's, outside groups that travel to this area. So, that's one of the big drivers from a tourism that they thought would be, a big revenue producer. So, you've got 20 teams that come in that are playing baseball, youth baseball, or maybe even adult softball that come into an area. They use the fields. And it's not just the revenue generated from the use of the fields, but they're staying in our hotels, they're staying in our, eating in our restaurants, they're doing all those types of things here in our community. They're shopping in our stores. So, there's a benefit to that as well.
So, and then you have the Civil War History Center, which I'm seeing they've broken ground for that.
Way past broken ground.
Right.
If you drive by there, they are in full construction.
Yeah.
I mean, they just did the final beam ceremony a couple weeks ago. So I'll tell you, if you drive by there, it looks. I mean, the steel is coming out of the ground, and it looks very, very different up there. So it's going to be interesting to see that all come to. It's been a long, long process.
Right. So, but I'm saying, so you got those two things, and then the whole feasibility study for the aquatic center. Mm-hmm. Let's dig a little deeper into that. For those individuals that may not understand or know exactly conceptually what that's about, would that be akin to something that at the Leach Aquatic Center going down?
So I would say that the aquatic center in Hope County is more of a community aquatic center, recreational, more geared towards a community. We want to have that as well, but I think we envision something that's going to drive those competition, those regional kind of competitions, give our high schools access for practice facilities as well as competition facilities, maybe even something at the collegiate level where we could recruit in. Maybe you're doing Special Olympics or competitions that are going to draw tourism into our community as well. I think you'll want to have those types of things in it as well. And when we talk about regional, we want to make it sure that it's not only for the community recreational activities, but is also is a draw to bring people to our community from a tourism standpoint. So they're going to stay overnight, just like I was just talking about previously. They're going to spend money in our local restaurants. They're going to spend in our shops and do those types of things and have an impact on our economy, on our, the tourism economy that we have. But again, that's part of the feasibility study. So we got to look at the programming of it. Will something like that work here? There's nothing along this, eastern, this corridor right now, along the regional corridor that is like it. So we believe that there's potential opportunity for it, but that's what this feasibility study is for. Before you go spend X amount of $1 million, you need to make sure you've got the right project at hand and the right scope of the project. And this is a step in that direction. So it'll tell us how we need to program it. It'll give us those financing options that we need, who our partners potentially would be in this, and then look at the location as well. And the location, I think, will be driven off of how it's going to be programmed.
So, and I guess conceptually, one concept would be a public-private partnership to make this happen?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. It could be that. It could be, the city participating. It could be Cape Fear Valley participating. It could be Hope Mills participating. It could be public-private, where we've got, outside entities. There's a lot of different ways we could fund it. There's a lot of different models. And I think, that was a big point as we looked at the aquatic center. We just didn't want a singular funding source where, taxpayer general fund dollars are funding it with debt, and that's the model that we do, much like you saw in other projects here in the community. We use F&B tax, and that's our sole source. And if you want to have multiple financing streams and have the best possible financing outcome to make the best use of taxpayers' dollars. I think that's important. And there's a lot of great options out there right now, and they change every year.
Right. So you made mention of Cape Fear Valley. Now I want to segue into they have new leadership there, a new CEO.
They do. Dan Weatherly was appointed as a CEO. He was the interim CEO, and then the Board of Trustees, which I'm on and all the commissioners are on, appointed him as the permanent CEO. Just really believe he is the right guy at the right time. You know, this has been a guy that's been an integral part of the growth of Cape Fear Valley over the last several years, probably 10 plus years. You know, he's done a lot of the acquisition and the growth as the COO as the Chief Operating Officer and President of Cape Fear Valley of the health system. You know, he's been involved in the medical school from the ground floor. He understands the momentum. He has the relationships. So he was really he's just his background and his understanding of how to grow a health system was important. I think the thing that we all have to look at is as the healthcare system, as Cape Fear Valley continues to transition, as this medical school comes aboard later this year, with students, we're really becoming an academic hospital and a training hospital in a lot of ways. And so there's a shift a little bit in that as well. And I think Dan's positioned to do that, leaning on, he's surrounded himself with experts like Dr. Hershey Bell and others that have, done things like this before. So he is definitely, in my opinion, the right guy at the right time. And I'm excited about where we're going with Cape Fear Valley.
So, of course, Fayetteville Metro is Olive Harnett and Hoke, and I know that Cape Fear Valley owns in Dunn.
Yeah, we're in 11 different counties.
Bessie Johnson.
Yeah, we're in 11 different counties.
Also, the newest hospital in Lillington.
Yep.
You guys own that as well.
Yep.
So you say you're in 11 counties, which I can
Now,
actually
don't put me on the spot now. Yeah,
11,
I'm not gonna be able to rattle them all off. I just know because we were talking about that before. But you look at Scotland, Hoke, Cumberland, Bladen. I can't list them all now.
Sure, I got you.
Did I say Harnett, Hoke, Scotland?
Right.
But I think it's 11 counties, and I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't, so I apologize. But I will say, even with the momentum we have, one of the other things that I appreciated about Dan is he came in, and we know that we do have some work to do at Cape Fear Valley. There's some things when we look at the public expectations in our emergency room from a quality of care. We know that that's how people really judge our Cape Fear Valley, and we've got some work to do when it comes to some of those quality scores that are externally judged and rate our healthcare system. So we've got some work to do there, and I think Dan has also been the guy on the ground floor putting some systems in place to address those things. So again, he's the right guy to carry them forward and to ensure that, as we see the needle move, and we are, based on some systems that he is responsible for putting in place from a quality standpoint or patient care standpoint, we'll see that needle continue to move. But, that focus on the emergency room experience with the expansion that we're going to have out there, the way we are organized for care in the emergency room, both from the youth side and the adult side, and just some other things that we're doing. There's a direct connection back to patient care, but also to, how we take care of our doctors as well. I mean, medical profession is high stress with the docs and the doctors, as well as the nurses and other medical professionals that are across the hospital, and just how we treat them, how we interact with them, ensuring that we continue to build on the culture that we have at the hospital. And again, I think Dan is the right guy for that, and will be the right guy as we continue to grow over the next few years.
So as you stated, all of the members of the Board of Commissioners are part of the trustees for the hospital, correct?
Correct.
The total number of people that are on that particular board?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
How many people are on that board? I mean, something like 25 or something like
21.
21.
21.
Okay.
And so 7 of the commissioners, plus we have 8 appointments right now. So we have 15 members of a 21 member board.
Yeah, well, it's progress. So we're back to, and this probably will bleed off into the second part of the hour as well. Still a lot of talk about data centers in our community.
Yeah, I guess the city council, the Fayetteville City Council had a meeting last night. I understand no ordinance was moved. I guess some of the members, all the members weren't present last night, but I don't want to speak for the city. We can talk about what the county's doing.
Right. So as I shared with you earlier, I know that one local newspaper, the Fayetteville Observer, that they have this survey going, but they have a pay window on it. I would think that they would take the pay window off of that, but I don't make the decisions over there.
You would think that would be the better way to do it, unless
Right,
you're just going to have a skewed survey. But
exactly.
I don't necessarily, wearing my real hat, I do a little bit of market research,
Right.
wearing my day job hat, and you want to have a good third party validated survey that that is reflective of the community at all levels. And
Correct.
So depending on the type of survey or focus group that you're doing, you really should have, when you look at our economic makeup, our racial makeup, our male to female makeup, you should have a population that is reflective of that, specifically the economic the economic lens of that. But you should also have a large enough population where it's not 200 people out of 300,000 people across the community. You want to make sure the data pool is reflective, but also large enough that it's not easily skewed.
Right. So but that tends to be the height of the conversation now about whether or not this community will make a step forward and involve itself in that. It just,
But it's interesting, Troy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sure,
So
go.
remember
All right.
remember the dialogue that we were having around the chicken plant.
Yeah,
and you
I remember that.
you had the yes and you had
Yeah,
the
the
no,
no.
and you had these two big groups that were really this time you're only hearing the no.
that's what I'm saying.
There's not a group. There's not this yes group. It's been very interesting to watch. I mean, think about the chicken plant, which was a lot smaller economic impact.
Right.
Yes, it created jobs. Some will argue, was it the right types of jobs? But some people say jobs are better than no jobs.
Jobs stop bullets.
That's right. Jobs stop bullets. I remember it. I remember it well. But this time it's very different impact. Depending on the size and scope of a data center, it's everything from 20 jobs to 200 jobs potentially, at different ranges and levels. And you've just heard the no, you haven't heard the yes side. It's been interesting, to kind of see how this is begin to unfold. And we've got hats off to the folks that are organized and speaking, against data centers in our area. I know they've been on your show, and hats off to WIDU for giving the space to kind of talk through these things. I think that's important. That's what community radio is about. But it's been interesting to see that there really hasn't been that other side.
Yeah. Do you think, though, perhaps a part of the yes side probably hinges on them not really knowing? Because I'll be honest with you, until this discussion started a month or so ago, I didn't know anything.
But you didn't know anything about. But the yes didn't know anything about chicken plants.
But they eat chicken, though.
They eat chicken, but it was just industry coming. I mean, it was manufacturing industry coming. That there was environmental concerns, and was there going to be ethanol? Was there going to be these gases and smell and all this other stuff?
I think that was easy to understand, though. I don't know. and I don't know. I'm talking about from my perspective.
Yeah, I
think that was
just
easy
found
to
it
understand.
interesting that you really haven't seen this emergence of this community debate. It's been a very, given, I mean, my hat's off to the group that has been very organized around the, moratorium and no data centers at all in our community, but you haven't, and Robert Van Gien's from Economic Development, he has a, he has a line that he has to work with the elected bodies because ultimately it's got to come through the elected body. So he's more providing education. Here's the information. Here's the non-biased information that I can provide you elected officials or you public on data centers. So there's not been this, this other voice in the community. Normally you have this other voice, and so it's been, again, interesting to watch. But I think it's healthy, and it's, in my opinion, good to see community members leaned in and engaged on things that are impacting their community. I mean, that's how we should function as a community. We shouldn't function in the dark.
And I guess we're going to the break, but I guess, are there things that we can learn from that whole Sanderson Farms chicken plant scenario? I mean, I think there might be some lessons there as well. Some of the fears that they were saying it never happened. And when I get the chance to go down Highway 20 there in St. Paul's, I always look. I've never seen a chicken feather, and I looked at the development around that. It's pretty. It's pretty sharp. But anyway, we're going to go to a break, come back. We have our most able producer, both of them, one leaving and the other one, they're playing switch hitting this morning.
The tag team, and they're getting ready to high five on the way out.
Yeah, these are the guys that you don't see that make this stuff happen, and that is two pastors that got Reverend Carl Brinkley and also Reverend Paul Matthews. And also we have our intern in with us this morning as well, Caleb Brown. So we're going to go to our break, come back, and have further discussions with the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, KIRK DEVIERE.
NC State University economist expects gas prices to rise again this week. Steve Allen tells ABC 11 the higher prices will last well into the summer. Their back and forth continues between Pope Leo and President Trump. And the Pope is visiting Algeria today on part of his African tour. A search continues in Rockingham County for a suspect in a breaking and entering investigation where a shotgun was stolen. NC Waters hosted a 3-day event near Charlotte focusing on boat operations, aerial search, mapping, and water rescue. Severe weather all across the Midwest today. Around 125 million people could be at risk for dangerous storms from Texas to the Northeast. Drought and high-pressure hot conditions continue in the Southeast. Police in the Bahamas have released the Michigan man whose wife is missing. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office says as the temperatures go up, so does the danger inside your vehicle. The inside of your car can heat up pretty quickly, even on a mild day. What might feel comfortable outside can become dangerously hot inside a vehicle in just minutes. Never leave children unattended in a vehicle, not even for a minute. The same goes for your pets. They depend on you to keep them safe. Cracking a window or parking in the shade does not prevent temps from rising to deadly levels. If you see a child or pet left alone in a vehicle, do not hesitate to act and call 911. Make plans to join the Cumberland County Cooperative Extension Master Gardener Volunteer Association for their annual plant sale. This is at the Crown Arena on Saturday, April 25th. Shop a wide variety of locally grown plants, vegetables, herbs, houseplants, and seed packs, perfect for gardeners of all levels. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
A very mild start to our Tuesday morning, and the trend the rest of the week is going to be for us to see high temperatures nearing record levels. We'll be in the mid to upper 80s this afternoon under a mix of clouds and sunshine. Overnight, nice and mild once again, heading into first thing Wednesday morning. Then Wednesday will dial up the heat a little bit more. High temperatures reaching the upper 80s and lower 90s. More of the same the rest of the week. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Hello, I'm Eric Hurley with Federal Police Department Traffic Unit. We don't write tickets to raise money. We write tickets to change behavior. Speed was the primary factor in more than 60% of the 28 fatal crashes we investigated last year. Every stop we make might be the one that prevents the next death. I'd rather give you a citation than tell your loved one you're never coming home.
I'm Detective Deal with the Fayetteville Police Department's Traffic Unit. As a crash reconstructionist, I don't guess what happened, I prove it. We measure, photograph, and digitally rebuild each fatal scene millisecond by millisecond. Speed is the most common factor we find in deadly crashes. I've seen cars split in half just because someone was in a hurry. These aren't freak accidents, they're choices, and every choice has a consequence.
If you see blue lights in 2026, expect a citation.
If we see this scene again, someone didn't listen. Your speed, your choice, your consequence.
Speed kills, respect the limit.
The North Carolina Healthcare Association invites you to listen to this month's podcast, Conversations on the State of Healthcare. This month we examined the Thrive 5, developed by Thrive OBX. The Thrive 5 is a way to bring the community together using outside partnerships to stay healthy as you age. My guest is Amy Montgomery, Executive Director of Operations at Outer Banks Health.
So Thrive OBX is about inspiring well-being and longevity through a community-wide cultural movement. The goal is simple: to help people thrive. Research shows that only about 30% of our longevity is tied to our genetics, and 10% depends on access to health care. So that leaves roughly 60% is determined by daily lifestyle choices, like how we eat, move, manage stress, sleep, and connect socially.
You can learn more and join our latest Conversations on the State of Healthcare wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and find out more by visiting nchealthcare.org.
It's celebration time again for all freshmen in high school through freshmen in college. Come join us at Faith Tabernacle Christian Center for Prom Night 26. Our guest for the evening will be Christian rap artist Mike Teasy. This event will take place Friday, May 1st at 7 p.m. and is designed exclusively for high school freshmen through college freshmen. Commemorative photos will be taken and can be purchased the day of the event, so dress your best and come ready to have some fun. Admission is free, but you must register to attend. Register on our website at ftccenter.org, or you can call the church 910-865-5252. Church groups and schools are welcome, but you must register as well. Doors open at 6 p.m., so come early and participate in our red carpet photo op. Let's celebrate your accomplishments for this year by joining us for Prom Night 26. For more detail, call 910-865-5252 or online at ftccenter.org. Space is limited.
Measles is spreading in North Carolina. It's highly contagious and can make infants and children very sick. Pneumonia, brain swelling, long-term health problems, hospitalization, and death can occur. Protect your child with the MMR vaccine. It provides lifelong protection. Serious side effects are extremely rare. Millions of children are safely vaccinated each year. Insurance covers the cost, and free vaccines are available. Make sure your child is up to date. Talk to your doctor or visit ncdhhs.gov/measles. Paid for by NCDHHS.
Good morning. It's about 23 minutes before the top of the hour here again. The chairman of the Board of Commissioners, we have KIRK DEVIERE. And, you know, we're just having a robust discussion during the break. And, look, I know it's tough, but, you know, there are questions about things. Like, you know, these Health and Human Services organizations. And people love to say, especially, I'm not picking on folk in the city, but I'm just saying, they say, oh, no, that's a health and human services issue. We're not touching that. They're like the homeless, and like, but that can't be all one entity. We all collectively are involved in all of these things. But you guys do, even though when we had a mental health center, we don't have one anymore, and we were discussing that during the break. But we do still have a Department of Social Services, and a Department of Health. And now, the way they're structured, their personnel are structured under the state personnel, the way the state personnel operate, but they're paid by the county.
Correct.
So that's the way it works. And they have boards over them. This is not you talking. I would say that particularly when it comes to public health, that board is not operated in a manner that it should have. I know less about the board that's over the Department of Social Services. But, you know, these boards are not been operating the way that they should. From what I've seen is that instead of the board running the directors, the director runs the board. And that's not the way things are supposed to work.
Well, and Troy, you have to remember also that, you know, the county commissioners appoint to those
That's
boards.
true.
And,
Right.
and so, you know, I think what you've seen over the last, you know, year or so since we've changed the boards and commissions process and put a little bit more structure to it, where we had a formal process now where we do it in the spring and fall, you know, and we're actually rotating people on these boards and getting more applicants before there wasn't more applicants. So we put a concerted effort to say, you know, if you're qualified or you have an interest in this area, we want you to be a part of these boards. And so we've seen some, you know, new interest in, I would say, you know, new bodies, new blood coming on some of these boards, specifically in DSS and in the health department board. We've had the opportunity to appoint some good people on both of those boards, quite frankly, over the last, you know, 15 months or so. So, you know, my challenge to those boards, and I've told them both that, is, you know, bring us those recommendations. You know, talk to us as boards. You know, board to board, chairman to chairman, or chairperson to chairperson, or board to board, and let's have some conversations about how we can enhance the level of services to our constituents. Because, Troy, that's what it's about. I mean, both of those agencies deliver services to people in this community that need it the most, and sometimes at very critical points in their lives. And we need to ensure that our level of service and our level of delivery is at the utmost important. And it doesn't need to be status quo. We need to look at every opportunity with changes in technology, changes due to COVID, changes due to, you know, just where we are. You know, I would encourage those boards to be change agents and look at how we can enhance the level of services, be more efficient. We had a town hall yesterday with some employees, just conversation, coffee with commissioners. You know, and one of the points that somebody brought up was, you know, eliminating some of the bureaucracy. Agree, exactly. How can we lessen the bureaucracy between the service and the constituent? How do we make that shorter, more effective, more responsive? And I would challenge those boards to provide us that information. I haven't seen that since I've been on the Board of Commissioners, but I would encourage those boards to do that and have said that. I think there's, you know, commissioners can't be everywhere, but you put good people on boards that can bring good ideas and good changes to policy forward. And I know that right now there's a lot of discussion around, you know, how DSS and Health and Human Services, the Health Department boards, how we would reorganize them. Some people call it consolidation. Some people call it integration. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there as well. There's been no decision to consolidate anything, so let me just be very clear on that. There's been no decision by this board to consolidate. There's a lot of agendas, I think, by some people that are trying to drive that narrative to say that we are trying to dissolve the boards and take control. That's not what was asked. What was asked of the staff was just to provide us some research and some information back on some school of government options that were looked at previously. That's all that's been asked. You know, this is an opportunity, and for me, people say, well, why did you support that? Because I support giving our citizens the best level, the highest level of service delivery that we can. Any way that we can do that is how we should do that. You know, for far too long in this community, we haven't invested in the right things. But what you saw over the last years, you saw a board that invested in public education for the first time, invested in our infrastructure for the first time. We're investing in mental health with this mental health diversion center that we're talking about, and maybe it'll end up becoming a BHUC in partnership with Cape Fear Valley and the Alliance. But, you know, where's been the investment in our health and human services and DSS over the years? How are we ensuring that the level of service that we're providing to the most, you know, the most vulnerable constituents that we have is at the highest level? Where has been that advocacy over the years?
True. Well, I mean,
so let's have that conversation. And my hope is that out of this now, we're going to have that conversation, and we're going to see boards lean in, boards of the health and boards of the DSS to lean in to our board and have conversations about how can we better do that. You talk about compensations for social workers and social workers level 1, 2, 3, and nurses and all these different things. And okay, what does that look like, and how can we do it better, and what service levels? What's a better use of our opioid funds versus just little pilot projects down here? Is there a better direct use of opioid funds that we could use? Could we use some of those into this mental health diversion center? Could we use it for other things like that? There's a lot of opportunities out there. We've got to stay focused on what's going to impact our citizens, what's going to ensure we provide the best level of service for them. This noise that's out there is just a distraction as far as saying we're dissolving the boards. That is not accurate, and that is not a fair statement. And the people that are saying that need to stop.
Yeah, but you know, the boards have some issues. Going back to 2017, when 159 women that now they initially said it was less than 10.
Yep.
And I'm just doing a little history here, a little history lesson.
Yeah.
It was 159 women who had not been given their negative cancer results, and they want to downplay that. And of course, that didn't happen under the most recent previous health director. That was 2 directors back.
Yeah.
But I just saw what that director did. When we began to notice that, and what he did was he took down the names of the board members off of the website, and so you couldn't contact anybody and all those other things. I mean, he just built his own little kingdom, and nothing ever changed, Mr. Chairman. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying is that's not right. I mean, these are public agencies that ought to be as transparent as anything.
Shine the light.
But
shine the light.
I'm just telling you what happened.
Yeah, I agree.
And then just went and basically, but you know what? The one thing out of that caused me some real heartburn, the whole accreditation process. Mm-hmm. And I saw it meant nothing, Mr. Chairman. It meant nothing that you could lie to these folk, and some of them even knew what was going on, and it's still, oh, you're accredited. So, I mean, when it comes to this whole accreditation thing, that it's nothing more than a beauty contest among people that are among the same vocation to make each other look good. I mean, at the end of the day, and I'm a senior citizen, yep. So it shouldn't matter to me what happens in this community when it comes to things like public health. Now, understand that when it comes to the adult clinic, which I don't know whether I might need that one day in my life or not. I don't know. But still, that adult clinic, that's not a mandate from the state. But there are some things from the state that are mandated. All these restaurants, yep. They have to be inspected. And I don't know, I know you're like me, no doubt. When you walk in, I'm looking for the grade, man. You know what I mean? If you're a B, I'm getting out of here. You see what I'm saying? But they have a mandate for that, and they have a mandate for other things as well. So they're important. Anyway, let's take a call. Somebody has a call.
And before we take that call, I just want to make one more point in case we move off the topic. You know, because I want to be clear and dispel a lot of the chatter and noise and misinformation that's out there. The Board of Commissioners has not taken a vote to dismantle DSS or the health department or do any consolidations. We're not there's not a board member on this board that wants to see anybody lose their job, and there's not been any conversations about that. So there's a lot of fear mongering that's going on, and a lot of people with their own agendas. And so I want to be clear that there's been no vote to consolidate anything for anybody to lose their jobs. We've got incredible employees that provide incredible work to our citizens every day. And they need to not be fearful of any changes or anything that's happening or any vote that the commissioners have taken, because there hasn't been a vote taken to dismantle DSS or health department or reorganize it in any way. And there hasn't been a vote for anybody to lose their job. So let's just be clear on that, and let's stop the fear mongering.
Yeah, good advice, but we'll see how that turns out. Mr. Chairman, we'll see how that works out. Anyway.
We know how it works out. Troy?
To the phone line. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you. This is a lively discussion. Commissioner DeViere, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but some of the things, I'm a retired employee of the health department. I work in management. When we talk about the Board of Health, we need members who's willing to read, to know the scope of the work of the health department, to know the duties of the health director.
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
I attended board meetings when the board members didn't even put the information. All of the board members have a notebook, which is mandated for our accreditation. I sat there and heard one say she wasn't going to read all that information. We need board members that know the scope of the work for the employees of the health department. Not to know everybody's job, but the scope of the work. And a lot of them, when I served, when I was there, did not know it. And as far as the consolidation, I'm sorry. I hope y'all do it.
Well,
I'm sorry. I hope that you all will consolidate. And I was there when they had the consideration the last time. And the same rumors that we're hearing now are the same rumors we heard then. But if you got a board that's not active or don't know what their role is, we need to consolidate and get board members that know. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing. I enjoy your shows when you come on. And I just appreciate you and you keeping us informed. But I'm listening to you guys, and I got to say what I've witnessed myself. It's incredible. It's incredible what board members what they don't know, and don't seem to have an interest in knowing.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And, that's been one of our focuses is, our boards and commissions across our community are just that. They're citizen-driven, and they're really extensions of our Board of Commissioners. And we need people that actively want to engage, want to be change agents, want to do what's in the best interest of the citizens, and not just show up and, as my old friend Karen Savell used to like to say, just show up and eat the shrimp. And so we need members, and I think that's what that's what this board has looked to do over the last year and a half, is put people on these boards by changing this procedure that we went through to get the types of individuals that want to get on these board and be active members. And look, you don't have to know everything when you get on a board, but you've got to be willing to be active, engaged, and willing to learn. And that's important. And be willing to make the hard decisions when it's time to make the hard decisions, and not just go along to get along. So I appreciate your comments, and we're like I said, if anything's come out of this, we're really shining a light on two boards that probably have gone under the radar screen for too long. When over 40% of our budget goes to these two entities, are funded by the county, state, and federal government.
Right.
And we need to make sure that the level of service that we're providing to the most vulnerable in our community at some of the most vulnerable points in their lives are the highest level of services. And I challenge anyone to help us do that.
Well, I believe that, I'm talking about past history, Mr. Chairman, because those are appointed positions by elected officials, meaning now the Board of Commissioners. In times past, people were just stacking these boards with their friends because they wanted to have that on their resume.
That's right.
They weren't doing anything. And like the caller stated, because I've been to these board meetings too, they don't know anything, and they don't care. I mean, they get I'm sure they're not coming there for the meal, but let's be honest. Some of these boys, they do some nice traveling more than once a year. And you can take your spouse with you too. So I'm saying is that there's a benefit to being on these boards. And we need now, like on the health department board, I mean, some of those positions, there has to be a specific vocation. I know they have to have a doctor of veterinary medicine on there and probably an EMD and some of the other things. I don't know what the requirements are for some of you got at-large members and things like that, but some of them have to have specific people of vocations related to that particular agency on there. But I agree with you. You know, all I can do is hope that we move away from some of the appointments simply because somebody is a friend of somebody and they just want to have them on the board and start getting more qualified people to be there to help carry out the objectives.
Yeah, and we've been doing just that. As you look back over our appointments, we've been very deliberate about all of our boards, not just DSS and Department of Health, but all of our boards, ensuring that we've got engaged, you know, members that are in there to do the work of the board. These boards and commissions are serious work, especially when you look at, you know, Crown Commission and DSS and Health Department. You know, it's people like, you know, over the last year, you know, we are bringing those qualified people. So like Dr. Jamaica Hamilton, and if I said her first name wrong, I apologize. But, you know, she's in a general public role, but she's a medical professional.
Right.
So those are the kinds of people that we're putting on these boards that understand, that are willing to lean in, engage, and make impactful difference, not just sit there and I'm not saying everyone has done that in the past, but sometimes we've got to ensure that we've got people on these boards, and quite frankly, we've got people on these boards that we burnt out as well.
That's
because
true.
For years, nobody wanted to sign up and be part of this. You know, I was talking to an individual yesterday, he's been on the board for 12, 15 years.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's, you know, we appreciate your service and we appreciate the impact, but we also know that you're getting burnt out because it's a lot of work. Some of these boards, if you're doing the work, it's just like being on the board of commissioners. It's a lot of work. And so we've got to have the inroads, not just stacking our friends. We got to have the inroads to bring qualified people that, you know, that are going to bring their level of experience, their life experience to the table to move these boards in a direction that share the vision for this community. And that, you know, and that vision is having a community that is, you know, we can ensure that it's better for the next generation, that we're doing the things that we need to do for a better way of life. And these boards need to be focused on that, and we need individuals that participate in it. I mean, I know a few weeks ago, probably a month ago or so, on this radio station, you know, our two clerks came in, county clerks came in and talked about boards and commissions and how people can get involved and how they can submit. We've got a brand new application process online. You can go to our website, CumberlandCountyNC.gov, and you can submit. And we've got a new way to do it, to submit all your information, and we're, you know, letting you upload your credentials and those kind of things so you can really showcase who you are as an individual for each of these boards.
Yeah, well, you know, it's time for change, no doubt about that. And of course, I'm being very redundant in saying this, but you know, the Chinese proverb, if you keep saying, you know, if you keep doing the same old thing, then you're gonna get the same results. But
that's right.
That's really true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have to step outside of the box and make decisions to do things in a more objective way.
I also think it's, you know, I also want the boards, and I don't want this to be a, you know, I'm not trying to knock these boards anyway, but they also have to feel empowered.
Right.
And so I want them to hear from this board that appoints them that you are empowered. You are empowered to bring back this information and change and to engage the board. You don't have to go through your staff proponent to get back to the board. You can engage the board. If there's opportunities that you see to engage us and look at ways not to be status quo, then do that. You're empowered to do that. That's why we appoint these boards. They're extensions of our Board of Commissioners in many ways. They're our eyes and ears down on the ground because we can't be everywhere and we can't be on every board. But you are empowered. So if they felt like they haven't been empowered, they need to take that away from this discussion we're having as well, is that you are empowered to bring back your ideas, your solutions, maybe a different way of looking at stuff, or to reinforce what's working and working well. But be those boots on the ground and have those conversations, not just be along for the ride. Oh, we got a little bit of noise outside.
Yeah,
speaking of cutting lawns.
Yeah. I think they've been out here several times. But anyway, well, look, appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, and we're going to wrap this up, but look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in 2 weeks, as we continue this road of positive change, bringing about some great things to our community. Hopefully, we're attracting the kinds of businesses that we need here. I mean, we need things, not knocking this, but we need things besides restaurants and gas stations, okay? I mean, we have a lot of those, but let's try to bring some other things here too as well. And I would say to those individuals who say, hey, look, we don't have anything that that's good. Well, look, tell us what we need, because there's like I said, there's a loud crowd saying no. Well, can you tell us what we need to be saying yes to? Last words for you, sir.
No, again, just I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and have these kind of dialogues. And you're right. What we need now more than ever is the momentum and the push we have across this community. There are so many things going on, and we need community members to lean in and really be involved in this process. We need the experience of people from different walks of life, different sides of of opinions, of initiative, to have those robust dialogues. But remember that we can disagree and be respectful of that, and that's okay. But I also encourage the community to remember that compromise is normally where things happen. That's how we move forward. It's always not going to be your way or no way. It's going to be a compromise of anything that we do. It doesn't mean you have to compromise your values or compromise your integrity or compromise something that's important to the community. That's always going to be a screening. So I just encourage people to stay engaged. We've got a lot going on. This is the right time for us to position Cumberland County to be better than it is today, but we need the community to do that. And we're going to have difficult conversations, and that's okay. But you got to clear through the noise, get rid of the misinformation, and really focus on the facts of the information. So I appreciate the opportunity to always come on here. I always appreciate the conversation with you. You're so well-versed in so many different knowledges. And thanks to Wes and the team at WIDU for giving us this space every week, not just for me, but for the community to have conversations.
Appreciate you. Well, look, should be back on Thursday. He's scheduled to be here. The mayor is scheduled to be here, Mayor Fayetteville, Mitch Colvin. Hopefully he'll be able to be on his regular time, because there's a lot to discuss concerning the city as well. Well, look, y'all have a great day.